In 1961, in an attic in their parents' house, brothers Charles and Kingsley Ward designed and built their first recording studio. The studio was mono and equipped with a ferrograph, an EMI 301D quarter-inch tape recorder and an 8-channel audio Elcom mixer. Its primary use was to record their own group. By 1962, this facility became one of the first commercial studios outside London, when local rock groups hired and paid for the use of it. The company was originally called Future Sounds Limited. In 1965, the studio was relocated to an adjacent granary. The equipment had been updated to an EMI TR90 and Philips stereo tape recorders, and the console was built by Rosser Electronics in Swansea. In the mid-60s, the premises became the world's first residential studio after an American rock group called Elephant's Memory recorded and was accommodated in Charles and Kingsley's parents' house. Artists like Dave Edmunds' Love Sculpture and Andy Fairweather-Low's Amen Corner were now using the new studio, and in 1967 the original concept of the much acclaimed Mott the Hoople were all helping to establish the studio's identity. In 1968, the third studio was constructed in an adjacent stable block. The company had been renamed Rockfield Studios after the local village, and this studio is now the present Coach House Studio. Now 8-track, this new facility was soon playing host to groups like the early Black Sabbath, followed by many artists including Hawkwind, Arthur Brown, Ace, Brinsley Schwartz and Dr. Feelgood. The mixing console now was a Trident TSM, and the 80s saw more success with artists like Adam and the Ants, Echo and the Bunnymen, Robert Plant and the Undertones.
1, 2. Testing. 1.
In 1987, the world's first VR console was installed in the Coach House, along with added drum rooms and isolation booths. The studio itself has changed very little to today, and still has the original pegboard acoustic treatment from 1968 on its walls. In the 90s, success followed success when the Stone Roses spent 12 months recording their Second Coming album, closely followed by Oasis' What's the Story, Morning Glory. Since the new millennium, new artists like Tom Odell, Kasabian and Royal Blood have all used the Coach House studio, which is now both analogue and digital, with added natural echo chambers and EMT plates, and a Neve 8128 console. The accommodation for the Coach House consists of 7 bedrooms with 6 ensuite bathrooms and a large open-plan sitting and dining room. In 1973, Rockfield opened its 4th studio, the Quadrangle, in another adjacent stable block. The original mixer was made by Rosser Electronics, and one of the first groups to use this studio was Queen, recording their hit single Killer Queen from the album Sheer Heart Attack. Closely followed 1 year later by A Night at the Opera and the now iconic single Bohemian Rhapsody. These 2 albums gave Rockfield worldwide credibility. Still in use today from the mid-70s is the original drum room with its moving wall panels as designed and built by Charles Ward. The equipment was further updated with the installation of a Trident TSM console, and artists like Rush, Iggy Pop, Black Sabbath and Peter Hamill helped to confirm the studio's reputation. In the early 80s, Simple Minds, along with Clannad, the Waterboys, Edie Brickell and the New Bohemians, all enjoyed success, and in 1987 the studio was acoustically changed with angled ceilings, extra booths and natural echo chambers. The mixing console was also updated to a Neve V3, which in turn was replaced by a Neve VR in 1993. In the 90s, old and new groups were using the Quadrangle studio, including the Pogues, Joe Strummer, the Manic Street Preachers, Teenage Fan Club, the Boo Radleys, Coldplay and many others. Since 2000, this studio has undergone further equipment changes, including the installation of a vintage MCI 500 series console, and has attracted many artists, including Catatonia, Paolo Nutini, Heaven and Hell, the Pixies, Thunder and Wilco Johnson. The accommodation for the quadrangle consists of 9 bedrooms, 3 of which are self-contained apartments. Over 57 years, many producers have become a part of Rockfield's history. From the early years of Gus Dudgeon, Roy Thomas Baker, John Leckie, Hugh Jones and John Anthony, Rockfield is continuing to attract the current top international producers.